My research focuses on Brazil's relations with China, and my two co-authors study Brazilian foreign policy. I'm interested in understanding how China's rise has shaped domestic politics in Latin America in general, but Brazil in particular. And this paper was born during our PhD thesis, right? Pietro Rodriguez was working on Brazilian foreign policy. I was working on China-Brazil relations, and Amancio, the third author, is based at the University of Sao Paulo, and he's been studying Brazilian. So this project gathered the three of us, and we started gathering data from different public sources. We understood that there was not a good measure for Brazilian foreign policy engagement in the world. And we thought of gathering as much data as we could and create this index that we are presenting here. But eventually, when we started analyzing the index, we found out that we could fill a gap through the foreign policy index, which is we could explain which role play domestic and systemic factors in defining foreign policy in Brazil, and this model can be expanded on other Latin American countries. So that's our contribution. It's empirical, but we are also addressing a theoretical gap. Based on my research, I believe China will have an increasing role in shaping Brazilian foreign policy. The historical main ally has been the United States, Argentina also, and I believe China will increasingly shape Brazilian foreign policy as a whole. But I want to say that this is a very interesting moment to study Brazilian foreign policy. In a few days, we will have presidential elections, and we have two very different candidates. Bolsonaro, on the one hand, proposes a foreign policy retraction, meaning closing embassies, maybe leaving international organizations, but mostly a strong realignment with the United States. And Haddad, who comes from PT, will probably try to pursue Lula's and Dilma's foreign policy agenda, multilateralism, engagement with BRICS, South-South relations. The problem is that he has no resources, and the PT's foreign policy that we analyzed in this paper was a very expensive one. It's very expensive to have a multilateral agenda as Brazil had in the 2000s. So this is a very interesting time because it's very hard to know what will happen, but either Bolsonaro or Haddad winning, certainly the foreign policy of Brazil will shape. I guess there will be a strong relation with China and maybe some balancing between China and the US.